Welcome to another video from Gweilo 60. When did the Western countries, the United States and the Western democracy countries, democratic countries, become holier than holy? They tell you one thing, but they do another. Sorry for the noise, but hey, I'm on the streets of Nanning City in southern Guangxi Autonomous Region, mainland China, and it's noisy here. So why do the rules apply to China but not the rest of the world? And if you're wondering why there's so much noise in my video here, we've got a welder right here. We've got construction guys building high-rises behind me here, well, in front of me when I'm doing the video. We've got a bike fix-it shop just over here. So this is China. This is like real mainland China. This is where I live as a Gweilo in Nanning City. And actually, yes, I'm sitting here. That's my cell phone and my beer. I'm sitting here having a beer that I bought from this lady at this little convenience store, and she has a chair out front. And this is where I'm doing my video from today. Why? Because it seems fitting. It seems like a good place to make a video telling you about the lies that people are telling about mainland China. You get countries like Japan, and you know, these guys have a very short memory, or they want to forget, or they don't want you to know what their history was like. The raping of Nanning back prior to World War II comes to mind, where the Japanese army came into a city in China and basically devastated, killed everybody, raped, pillaged, plundered. Sounded like Norwegians. I'll get to them later. Well, no, I probably won't. But the idea is that we're talking genocide. We're talking forced labor. We're talking forced sterilization, and this is coming out of the United States. Did you know that the Americans had a eugenics program that was financed by the federal government that sterilized over 60,000 American citizens? These American citizens were either physically disabled or mentally disabled, and that was okay. Mass sterilization financed by the government. They weren't you're just not allowed to reproduce because you'll just give us problems, and that was from their health department. They sterilized immigrants, they sterilized people of color, they sterilized mentally ill people, they sterilized physically ill people. The weakest of the weak in their country, they sterilized. Over 60,000 of them. Over 60,000 Americans. 20,000 of them over 7 decades in California alone. Think about that. Did the United States of America think that the world would forget about slavery? Going and grabbing Africans from Africa, obviously, and bring them over for slaves. Men, women, and children. White-only bathrooms. White-only drinking fountains. The black people had to sit at the back of the bus. They were second-class citizens. They were, or third-class citizens. Went from slavery to second or third-class citizens. You know, and they're talking about dealing with the Uyghur population in China, but I'll get into this in a minute. You get the Canadians. Don't even get me started on the Canadians. The residential schools, killing the Indian and the child, killing the Indian. You know, and that's just it. The Australians. I think there was 311 massacres of Aboriginal people in Australia over 140 years. It was actually legal at one time to shoot Aboriginal Australians on sight. Why? Well, they just wanted to get rid of them. They wanted to exterminate them, just like the Canadians wanted to exterminate the Indians in Canada. Americans were no better. They had the same policy. Where does this all come from? Well, because they're holier than holy, it comes from You got it, the white people, the colonial mindset that we know better, our English ancestry, our white ancestry makes us better than you. Let's go back to, say, the Marshall Islands, the Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands, where the Americans dropped nuclear bombs in this area. They gave a shit about the people that lived there. The Aboriginal people of the Marshall Islands to this day have cancer problems because of the Americans. But you see, that's okay, because we did it for democracy. We did it so that you could live in a democratic world where your rights are protected. Fuck the rights of the people in the Marshall Islands. They don't matter. They're not Americans. We don't care about them. We will bomb the living bullshit out of them, and that's just the way it is. So when these people, when these governments, when these politicians, when you see this mainstream media and these assholes on YouTube telling you that life is better, these people are better, these people have done better, when does China ever do nuclear tests on people anywhere around the world? And when you get the politicians, these guys know what they're doing. When you get the politicians and you get the mainstream media from the Western world telling you about sterilization, forced sterilization, forced labor, genocide, re-education camps. It's, an alleged re-education camp. Well, we have reports that there's mass sterilizations. We have reports that there's forced labor. We have reports. They don't say, oh, there is. We know this. They allude to it. They allude to it. They make it sound like it's actually happening right now in this world. But it's all propaganda, guys. Did you know that Canada had a eugenics program from 1928 to 1972? Yes, they were sterilizing mentally ill people and people with disabilities also between that time period. Not on as large a scale as the Americans. I think only just over 2,300. But still, it was a government-funded program. So if these countries want to talk about forced sterilization, maybe they should look into their history. And I'm sure everybody out there is saying, well, that was then, this is now. Okay, well, what about the Holocaust? What about the Germans killing Jews? So we should just forget about that too. Is that the thinking out there? Is that the mentality of the Western people? Think about that. Eugenics, slavery, offing, like seriously, offing Indian children in Canada in churches. They had like, what, 17 churches being burnt down, 26 vandalized and stuff in the last little while, and people are bitching about it. I think they should be more interested in bitching about finding the priests and the nuns and the people that were killing those little kids, whether they're Indian, white, black, brown. And you notice, and that's another thing that I noticed. See, when you're in a place like China, you're sitting back and you see the world in a different light. You see the colors that people have laid on different societies. Okay, well, East Indian are brown. Okay, Western Indians are red. Chinese are yellow. Africans are black. Everybody else is white. You know what I mean? So when you look at it, so if somebody says a brown person, you already know what it is. How did that ever happen? Who built this? Like, my fucking God. Like, seriously, it's one of those things that you start to see when you don't live in the Western world, because the Western world sort of I don't want to say brainwashes you, but well, that's exactly what they do. They brainwash you. They tell you exactly what you're supposed to think about different people around the world. They tell you of the atrocities in this country, They plot your mind against places like China, Venezuela, Russia, but Russia is white. But that's a different story. But you get the African nations, you get the South American nations, oh, those immigrants trying to make their way to America. Well, they're not trying to make their way to America anymore. They're trying to make their way to places like Mexico City. Yeah, they are. So let's talk about forced labor for a minute. I used to work in a provincial jail back, well, just a couple of years ago, guys. Oh, that's noisy, eh? But I hope my mic doesn't pick it up. And they would pay people peanuts to work in the kitchen, to wash floors, to do whatever. In the United States, making license plates for $2 a day comes to mind. Chain gangs in the southeastern United States comes to mind. And they're the ones telling you that there's alleged forced labor in the cotton industry in Xinjiang, Autonomous Region, China. Are these the people that you can trust to tell you this? People that are doing it and have done, they're actually doing it today. Forced labor in prisons in the United States. And they're pointing a finger at China, saying China might be doing this. They may be doing it. We have reports that they might be doing it. We know because people like Adrian Zenz, oh, Adrian, he's getting sued. Oh, that's too bad, Adrian. It's sorry to hear that, you know, if you're throwing out false claims. Oh, and that's another thing. The fake news that you hear from the Western world. You know what? That fake news is illegal here in mainland China. If you send out fake news, if any of these people send out fake news in China, it's against the law. You will be arrested. You will be held accountable for that. So that makes the news, the outlets here in China, so much more reliable. It seems like all of these countries are basically accusing China of what they've done in the past. These countries have done in the past and are still doing today. Maybe not the forced sterilizations, but the forced labor, definitely. Cultural genocide? Yeah, against the native population all across North America, against the Aboriginal people all across Australia, New Zealand. You know, things like this. Look at Germany. Well, no, don't even get me started on Germany. Well, China's locking up people in re-education camps. They're trying to educate these people so that they have jobs and skills and stuff into the future. It's a big difference from Guantanamo Bay, where you get locked up. You get no lawyer. You have no rights. You don't exist. They can torture you, waterboard you, do whatever the fuck they want to you, but that's okay because, as I said before, it's for democracy. It's so that you, as an American or a Canadian, Australian, a Brit, you can all live the life that you live right now, and you know your life is really good. You're a first world country. You got it by the tail there, boy and girl. What about the other people around the world? Well, fuck them. They don't count. They're not democracies. So you think Guantanamo Bay is a one-off thing. Tell that to Edward Snowden. How about Julian Assange? How about Meng Wanzhou? These people, the Americans, can grab people from around the world and just bring them back and say, oh, we don't like you. We think you've done something wrong, so we're just going to extradite your ass back to the United States. We're going to throw you in jail forever. And that's just the way it is. Over 30% of the prison population in Canada is First Nations. They make up 4.9% of the population of Canada. Are they over? Are they? Oh, you know what I mean? And the Canadian government said, well, because they're bad. Maybe it's the way that they've been treated in the past. Maybe it's the way that they've been stuck on reserves. Maybe it's the way that they. If the government of Canada can't figure it out, if they're that dense, then obviously Canada has a problem. But the Americans are doing the same thing with the black people. But the Australians are doing the same thing with the Aboriginal people. Strange, eh? Seems to be a pattern going on here. That was then, this is now. How about the Australian Army? Special Forces in Afghanistan, but they killed 36 or 39 civilians. Some of them were just for blooding new soldiers, getting new soldiers used to killing. Men, women, and children, all civilians. So this, and they get away with it, you guys. And that's just the sad part of it. You know, tapping out people with drones by the American Armed Forces in places like Syria, places like Iraq. Don't even get me started on Iraq. Well, weapons of mass destruction. My God, they're still in Iraq looking for weapons of mass destruction. Now the Americans, after 20 freaking years in Afghanistan, they pull out. Where does that leave Afghanistan? In shambles? Yeah, of course. They snuck out like they did in the evening, overnight. They snuck out. And same thing as what they did in Vietnam. Seems like any country that they get into a tuffle with that's even close to China, they lose. North Korea, South Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan. There's another pattern going on there. So as these media outlets are lying to you from the Western world, the United States and Canada and Great Britain and Australia and France and Germany and wherever else they may be, they're lying to you about what's going on in China. Well, they're really not lying, because they're stating, well, this may be happening. We have reports that this might be going on. I'm drinking beer, as you can tell, on the streets of Nanning City. And all the trolls in the world can't stop me from doing that, because that's exactly what I enjoy. But the thing is that all of these outlets and politicians and slime ball YouTubers and wannabe tubers and whatever, they're all telling you all of the bad things that might be happening in mainland China. This could have happened, or should have, or would have, well, you know, all of this stuff. But they all have a history of doing exactly the same thing to not only their citizens, but other people around the world. The United States is probably the worst out of the whole group. Well, is the worst out of the whole group. This century. The last century, it was the Brits. Awful people. You know, their policies were shit. But, you know, they're sort of portraying China as what they used to be, and it's just not like that, guys. If you see China like I do, after 18 years of living here, you'll understand that it's just not that type of place. The people don't think that way. The government doesn't think that way. The world here is different. Here, people work hard, they educate their children. They have not a bad life, and it's getting better every day. The education is getting better, the healthcare is getting better. They've brought themselves out of poverty to a place where they're actually a player in the world today, and it scares the hell out of the Western world. Why would the United States of America earmark $300 million to badmouth China in the media? Why? You see, what I think is they should have taken that $300 million and helped the homeless people in Venice Beach. Exactly. They've got tent cities, they've got discontent cities, they've got homeless people and drug addicts, and their shit is everywhere. Why not help them? Why take the $300 million and try to make China look bad? It doesn't make any sense. See, the world is a strange place, and if you live outside of the Western world for a little while, and take my word for this, because I've been out here for a long time, and I used to believe everything that the Western media used to say. I used to believe it hook, line, and sinker. I was like a frickin' fish. And once you live outside, you get all sides of the story. You get the story from home in Canada. You get the story from the United States. You get the story from Russia. You get the story from China. You get the story from places like Africa or Iceland or whatever, Central and South America. You get it all. And then it starts to churn in your brain and you start to think, holy smokes, maybe I was not being told the truth. Maybe I was being manipulated. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing nowadays, is a mass manipulation of the people of these democratic countries to hate China, to hate Russia, to hate Afghanistan, to hate Iraq, Iran, to hate, just to hate. Venezuela comes to mind, boy, they devastated. Now you got this Cuba thing, where the American government is in there, hook, line, and sinker. You know that, guys. And why are they doing this? Well, because they can. And then Biden has the audacity, because of the things that are going on in Cuba right now, the protests and whatever, to say that communism just doesn't work. It's been proven. As they try to compete with the Belt and Road Initiative by the Build Back Better initiative, try to make a digital currency to counter the Chinese digital currency, and it's all to compete with communist China. But communism doesn't work. It's been proven. You guys, are you catching any of this? Does any of this filter through? Does anybody out there hear me? 32 states had federally funded eugenics programs. Federally funded eugenics programs that would sterilize children as young as 11 years old. Think about that. 11 years old. And these are the people that you're listening to that say there's forced sterilization in Xinjiang Autonomous Region, China. Oh my God. When I look at a lot of the comments on my channel, and they say, how much you getting paid for this, Gweilo? Well, would I be sitting out here on the street, like seriously, would I be sitting out here on the street if I was being paid for this? Would I be wearing a $2 Venice Beach knockoff t-shirt? Would I be drinking Li Chen? Well, actually, I wouldn't be drinking Li Chen Picho. Well, it's the Guangxi Picho. You know what I mean? It's pretty good. I'd probably be doing this in an air-conditioned studio somewhere. Would that make it any better if I was in front of a green screen showing you bullshit video in the background? I don't think so. I think that the real world needs to know what the hell's going on in this world, and I think that the YouTubers around the world, the people that are actually living, it doesn't matter if it's in China, Venezuela, Russia, it doesn't matter where they are, Thailand, it doesn't matter where they are. If they're living there, they should be listened to, because they're the ones that are living the experience. And the people out there that are the BBCs, the CNNs, the Fox Newses, the frickin' Google LLPs of the world, you know what I mean? Those are the ones that you have to watch and say, are they telling you the truth? Probably not. Why are they doing it? For money. Why am I doing it? Because I've got that thing on my channel that says, buy Gweilo a beer, and you guys actually do buy me beer. And I sort of like that. So as I sit here, contemplating the what ifs, they could be doing this in Xinjiang Autonomous Region. They might be doing that. We have reports that somebody said that this is happening. None of it's definitive. And then I pit it against what's already happened in these Western worlds that have not only been accused, but found that it's actually true. The genocide, the forced labor, and the forced sterilization. Who do I believe? Who should I believe? Should I believe the people that have already been accused and found guilty of it? Or should I believe the people that have already been accused and found guilty of it, saying that it's somebody else doing it? Now, today. You know, this world is a little bit strange right now. There's a lot of bullshit going on between the West and the East. It's not a good thing. I don't like it. 2-3 years ago, it wasn't like this. Now, the rhetoric is being ramped up. Listen to the people that live here. Listen to not just the Westerners that live here. Listen to the Chinese people. There's a lot of Chinese YouTubers out there. People that put on Douyin in English. People at Sigua and Billy, that's actually in English, of Chinese people telling you exactly the same thing. These are the people that you should be listening to. People on the ground here. People that actually understand what's going on. And listen to these people, because they're telling you what they see. They're telling you what they feel. They're not telling you what their boss tells them to write. They're not telling you what politicians want you to see. They're not telling you the lies of the Western world, the propaganda. What they're telling you is they're basically telling you their life story here in China. And that's another video from Gweilo 60. If you like this video, this rant, boy, you know, I don't just do rants. I do rants, but I don't just do rants. I tell you what I see. We travel a lot. I get a little political every once in a while, and this is one of those once in a whiles. But I show you around China. I show you how good it is. I show you the food. I show you the people. I show you the areas. I show you the beauty of this place. And yeah, I stick up for the country because I think it's a great place to live. I think the Chinese people have built something here that they can be proud of. And it's one of those things that it's sort of an anomaly because, as I said before, I've been here for 18 years and I've seen it grow. I've seen it morph into something that I had no idea that it would go this far, this fast. And I'm impressed. I am really impressed with this society. Anyway, that's another video from Gweilo 60. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe. Push that share button. Don't forget to resubscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell. And whatever you do, don't forget to put a couple bucks in the children's Patreon account. It's for a good cause. Thanks for watching. Bye now. Oh, I'm gonna finish my beer.